Bullying, it happens at all different levels every day in schools all across the country, from name-calling all the way to racially motivated beatings. Whatever the form, it diminishes the human spirit in our children. Well, today we're learning about a program that's empowering students to tackle this issue. Please welcome the Education Director of the Connecticut office of the Anti-Defamation League, Margie Lipshez-Shapiro, and ADL trainer, Anne-Marie Brungard-Knight. Ladies, welcome to both of you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Margie, you say that bullying has an impact on the entire school community, not just the children who are being targeted. Why is that? What are you seeing?
At ADL, we really talk about that everyone has a role in bullying, because there's the victims or the targets, as you mentioned, and there's way more of them than we ever thought. There are the students who exhibit the bullying behavior. There are what we call the allies. There are students who actually, and adults, who stand up and say, no, we don't want this in our school, I'm going to help. And finally, the biggest group are called the bystanders, and almost everyone has had that role of being a bystander and not knowing what to do.
And witnessing
and
something
witnessing.
like this.
And also, what's different today is that it used to be that at the end of the day, the bullying was over, the child would go home. Now it follows children home through their computer, through their cell phone. We call that cyberbullying, and sometimes it's worse for students when they get home.
So you started a program, and it's called Names Can Really Hurt Us.
Yes.
Tell us about the program and how it came about.
Okay. It really came about from a dream that I had, that we could teach students and empower them to share their stories, to use their voices to stand up and teach their peers. I had actually, when I came to work for ADL as director of the A World of Difference Institute, I talked to a lot of kids, and I said, you know, who do you listen to? Who's going to come to your school that you're actually going to listen to in an assembly? They said, well, if you don't have a celebrity, if you don't have, you know, a sports star, then we really rather hear from each other. We don't want to be talked at by adults. And that really planted a seed for me that said students have the skills to do this. And they do. And
so they're learning and listening to their peers?
Yes, they are.
And how does this all work? What age group are you targeting?
Well, the program is really targeted towards high school students, and there are several components. We're really working towards an assembly day, and I think when people think about an assembly, they think about one person who comes out and does a lecture, and it's not that at all. It's a really powerful, interactive program, but it starts with a number of training sessions. So we take a group of students and teachers, and we spend at least 6 hours of their time training them around basic diversity skills, understanding what's happening in their school, and they're able to facilitate small groups. So on the day of the assembly, we have a group of students from the school who do a panel. They tell their own personal stories, and then we have what we call the open mic session, and we open that up to everybody in the auditorium, and you would not believe the impact when you see students coming down one after the other for about an hour, just emotionally telling their own stories of how they've been hurt by name-calling and bullying.
What has the impact been? Do you have examples?
Oh, absolutely. I could tell you, I actually went to a school several months ago where I was observing the program, and there was a young man sitting behind me, and obviously he was being targeted by a teacher to just kind of sit back there. He had some behavior challenges, and he just didn't want to be in the assembly. He was moving around. They asked him to remove his hat and to sit still and pay attention, and he was making lots of noise and just kind of disturbing the assembly. But as the assembly moved forward and the students began to tell their story, you could hear the silence behind me. And then as I took a look behind me, I saw him walking down the aisle towards the microphone, and the next thing I knew, this young man was speaking at the microphone, talking about how he'd been in foster care for most of his life, and that people didn't understand that when he came to school and was angry and acted out, that it's because of what was going on at home. And you could see there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
Well, I'm sure a lot of these students are shy at first. Maybe they're embarrassed that they are a victim of something like this. They're afraid to talk to their friends. They're afraid to talk to their parents, right? So what should parents look out for?
Parents need to really be observant. They need to listen to what's not being said, not just what is being said. So when often children come home and the parent says, how was your day? And they get, okay, fine. They need to ask open-ended questions. They need to say, you know, I've been reading about bullying, or use children's literature, or do something as a catalyst and listen carefully. And if a child is truly reluctant to go to school, isn't doing their homework, they see a change in their pattern of sleep behavior, because it impacts thousands and thousands of children and really impedes their ability to get an education sometimes.
Margie, did you also have an example of the impact of this program and how it's helped students?
Yes, there was the students who put the program on together bond, and one day a student told a story about how as a child she was shy and quiet, and her parents threw her a big birthday party with streamers and balloons. They rented out a hall, it was all set, they walked in, and not one student showed up. Not one. Oh. And she told this story, and she still was emotionally impacted. And on the day of the program, which is a few weeks later, the students on that team threw her a birthday party because they had been the ones who didn't show up. And they knew it, and they knew they needed to rectify it. And so sometimes the program heals wounds that happened back in elementary school.
Wow, how great is that? And I'm sure it's a win-win situation for both the students and the teachers.
Absolutely.
They're all benefiting from something like this.
Yes.
Yeah, we have more information. You can find out more about the Anti-Defamation League's programs for students, parents, and educators by visiting their website, adl.org/education. Or you can just come to our website, WTNH.com, click on the Connecticut Style link. We've got all the information there. Margie and Anne-Marie, thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it. Nice meeting you.
Nice
Great
meeting you.
program.
Nice
Thanks.